Hello, and welcome to my brand new YouTube channel. My name is Joanne, and as you probably suspected from the title, I love vintage fashion and dressmaking. This is my first ever video, and what I have planned is to tell you a little bit about myself, to introduce the Haslam System of Dresscutting, and then to tell you a little bit about the project that I have planned and what I'm hoping to share with you. I've been fascinated with the elegance and variety of historical styles for as long as I can remember, and I've been sewing my own 1940s and 1950s fashions mainly for the last 12 years or so. Aside from being able to wear fashions that really make me feel happy, I think one of the best things about dressmaking is that I'm always learning something new. I wouldn't consider myself an expert, and I still make plenty of mistakes, but I love taking on new challenges. That's why I've been keen to set up a YouTube channel for a while now. I've been so inspired by other blogs and YouTube channels that I felt it was time for me to share my adventures and hopefully bring some support and inspiration to others too. I had quite a few ideas of where to start with these videos, but another thing that I've been really keen to give a go is the Haslam System of Dresscutting, and I thought, why not combine the two? I have used the system once before to make this dress, which you can see behind me, for a friend's daughter. I didn't have a suitable original pattern for an 11-year-old, and the wonderful thing about this system is that every design can be customized to your measurements. From what I can remember, it was a really fun process, and I was so pleased with how the dress turned out, even though I'm not sure I actually fitted a toile or anything. However, despite owning 12 books of these draftings, I still haven't made anything for myself. So the aim of this project is going to be to document and then to share my experience with using this system. Now, I've noticed there have been quite a lot of requests online recently for YouTube tutorials on the Haslam system. I just wanted to point out that they're not exactly going to be tutorials, because there's no way that I can claim I'm proficient at this, but I hope that if you join me on my learning journey, that you'll also be able to pick up something really useful along the way. So at this point, you may be just itching to get started like me, or you may be wondering, what is this system all about? Cue research mode. Oops, wrong setting. That's better. Unfortunately, there's very little information available online, apart from 2 articles in the Bolton News. I'd originally assumed a much bigger company was behind the publications, but amazingly, this dress cutting system was the impressive home enterprise of a Bolton lady described by the newspaper as local sewing legend. Miss Grace A. Haslam reportedly lived with her sister at 45 Seymour Road in Bolton, and their home doubled as the business office. Her system is described by the newspaper as revolutionary at the time and allowed women to create their own versions of the latest fashions at home. Publications seem to span from the 1920s to the early 1960s approximately, and Miss Haslam would apparently keep up to date with the latest trends in London, in fashion magazines like Vogue, and in more local department stores in Manchester and so on, and she would then create her own designs. These patterns were then drawn up using her special system, which we will look at more closely in a moment. According to the Bolton ladies who were interviewed by the newspaper, Grace Haslam would travel around the country, giving lectures, teaching how to use her method, and then each spring and autumn, a new version of the illustrated book of draftings would be painstakingly produced by hand for printing and mailed out to her former students. The full article on how this was done by just 3 people from home was a really fascinating piece of history, so if you're interested, please do check out the links which I've included on the blog article that accompanies this video. So it seems that this system was largely a local phenomenon at the time, but thanks to online sellers on Etsy and eBay, these wonderful draftings are readily available in digital format now. But how does it work? The system is based on 3 key elements. Firstly, the foundation draftings. These require you to take a number of body measurements and then provide directions on how to draft your own personalised foundation, also commonly referred to as a block or a sloper. This is done with the aid of element 2, a specially designed cardboard template punched with holes. The holes correspond to different body measurements and enable you to plot the various dots on the foundations. And the curved edge is placed in certain ways to achieve curves on the patterns. Once you have your foundation, you can then pick any design from one of the illustrated books of draftings. The dotted lines indicate your foundation, and you then follow the measurements and indications to adapt your foundation and form the actual pattern pieces. So here, for example, you can see this design has an inverted pleat, so the diagram directs you to add 4 inches to the centre back and then cut this piece on the fold. I would argue that a fourth element is also very helpful. Other than the briefest of helpful hints for each design, there are no instructions included for dress construction at all. It seems that Miss Haslam would teach these to her students in person. But for those of us not lucky enough to be party to that wisdom, the guide to dressmaking and tailoring is very helpful and sets out how to put different garments together. I like to refer to some other vintage sewing manuals as well if I'm not exactly sure what I'm supposed to be doing, but you might want to use a more up-to-date book or perhaps some pre-existing pattern instructions to give you some ideas. If you've made it this far, you're probably thinking, that's a lot of work for just one pattern, and you're probably right, especially if this is your first time drafting something. But I think there are 3 reasons why so many of us get really excited about these patterns. Firstly, the variety of designs is just incredible, and I don't think I'm the only person out there who has stacks of these that they haven't even used just because the pictures are so irresistible. Secondly, you get 30 patterns per book, thereabouts. That's 30 patterns for the price of 1 essentially if you buy a digital copy, and it doesn't even take up any room until you want to use it. And thirdly, these draftings are essentially bespoke. You make them with your own measurements, and so the dress that you end up with, the coat, the suit, whatever, is not only authentically vintage in style, but it also is custom fitted to you. If that sounds exciting to you, then please do stick around. I'll be documenting each stage of my journey through this process and sharing it with you, starting with how to take your measurements for this system in my next video. I've decided to start by making some slips, mainly because I genuinely need some in my wardrobe, but also because the draftings for these look quite straightforward. The upcoming videos will follow the process step by step, so I will cover how to take your measurements, drafting the pattern, making a toile or muslin to test the fit, and constructing the final garment. Interestingly, the slips don't actually seem to require the foundation drafting stage, but this is something I will be trying later when I attempt some more complex patterns. So if you're interested, please do subscribe. That way hopefully you'll see my next video when it pops up. I'm quite new to filming and editing, so I'm not sure how frequent the videos will be just yet, but I'm going to try and stick to a fairly regular upload schedule for you in future. Finally, thank you for being here. I hope you learned something interesting from this video, and I really look forward to seeing you next time. Have a wonderful day.